In this episode, we're going to ask the question, are we going to budget or are we going to fudge it? Coming up next. Welcome back to the Banking Bros Show. On our podcast, we break down money moves, banking strategies, and financial freedom one ep at a time. I'm Jay Doo today.
And I'm Jonah Doo.
Today. Why did I say that? Because today we're going to tackle, I was trying to keep it going.
We're going to talk about something everybody needs to know about. Most people dread, don't do it well, do it half-hearted, and that is budgeting.
Budgeting, yikes.
So
it is
now,
tough for most people.
Before you roll your eyes, you've got to think, another boring budget talk, but you shouldn't think that because hear us out. It's not about restriction, it's about control. A budget should not, could not, will not be a financial straitjacket. It should be your game plan for your money so you can spend it on what matters, so you can save it for the future. You can still enjoy life without guilt. So today, in today's episode, we're going to break down 4 of the most popular and effective budgeting methods. So those are the 50-30-20 rule, the zero-based budgeting, the envelope systems, and the pay your first self strategy.
Pay your first self?
Yeah. Pay
yourself first.
What did I say?
Pay your first self.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if you're first, pay it. Anyway, it's the pay yourself first strategy. So by the end of the episode, you should have a clear roadmap on how to pick the right budget for your lifestyle. So let's dive right in.
Before we get into it, Jonah, let's talk about what we're going to help people with off of our show. Behind the podcast, there's always a coaching session available to any one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, if budgeting is your thing or you're like, whoa, I need some help from a professional who can walk and talk me through how to do this in a world of financial noise and confusion, we want to offer that to you absolutely free. So hit us up by clicking the links wherever they are on whichever platform you love to listen and learn from the Banking Bros. And we're going to have that conversation with you very soon. Jonah, as I always ask, are you taking calls this week?
I'm taking calls this week.
Very good.
And last week and next week.
Okay, now give us a place and a space all over the face of this earth you've taken a call from in the last 7 days.
From the office, mostly.
Well, I mean, no.
I didn't understand your question.
I didn't understand the question. Okay.
I take calls.
I took a call from a guy in Yonkers, New York.
I understand what you're asking now.
Yeah, okay. So in Yonkers, New York this past week. So if you are down here and you're trying to make America great or you're upstairs in the 51st state, we got you. But
that's a good one.
If you're in Canada, we are going to send you to some friends above.
I got you for that.
We are going to send you some friends up there in Canada who can help walk and talk you through this same system that we teach down here for everyone who wants to get started in financial freedom and code cracking cash flow. We call it the Save and Spend System, and you can always check us out at saveandspendsystem.com. Jonah, get into popular budgeting method number 1.
Yeah, so the first thing we want to talk about, one of the methods, there's 4 total, but the first one is the 50-30-20 rule. So when this was introduced, it was a while back, but I was not familiar with this. It does not speak to its name. Like if someone said the 50-30-20 rule, that doesn't actually tell you what's happening,
what type of budget
it is, right?
Is it a budget or is it like how you cut meat?
Exactly, and it sounds a lot like some of the other very popular things in the financial space that if you don't have someone explain to you or you don't watch the YouTube video on how they work, you're not going to know. Sounds a lot like the rule of 72. Or the 4% rule.
Which you've recently done videos on.
I have.
So tell us where to find them.
You can find those on our YouTube channel if you need to know a little bit more of a detailed breakdown on what in the world is going on there. But this budgeting method, the 50-30-20 rule, is pretty easy if you have someone explain, but not so if you don't. So here's how this works.
All right.
It's taking percentages of your income, 50%, 30%, and 20%, and assigning it to these different areas. So the 50% in the 50-30-20 rule goes to needs.
Needs. Okay,
So
needs.
That's your rent, your mortgage, your groceries, your electricity bill, your transportation, things like that. So that's your needs category. Again, I just gave you a few examples. You can put some more things in that needs category. So 50% of your income, if you make $10,000 a month, and I'm just throwing that number out there because it's nice and round for us, then $5,000 of that 10 needs to go toward the needs.
Okay. Now, here's my question. Many people out there talk about having your rent or your home mortgage at about 20% to 25% of your take home.
They do.
So that means the other 25% is for everything else.
It needs to be everything else.
Okay, so I think that's important. Some people are very skewed on what they're actually paying in rent, depending on where they live, or maybe they've got too much house and their mortgage is too high.
That's right. And at the same time, maybe sometimes they've instituted these other things that are actually in the 30% category. 30% in the 50-30-20 rule is actually for wants.
Wants. All right.
And they think that they're needs. And they've slotted these wants over into the need category, and that's making their need category too big. It's larger than 50%. And so they've got to readjust a little bit here.
My question is how do we determine what is a want?
Yeah, so there's general categories for this. So dining out and entertainment and hobbies are going to fall into the want category. So sometimes people get that confused and mistaken. They're going to think, oh, but Netflix, I've had it for so long.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I've literally always had Netflix for 5 years, so their $30 a month is in a
I've
need
always
category.
had it for 5 years. Sounds like my son James.
Well,
because he's 5. He's like, I've always had this.
Right. So they slot this into the
years.
need category when really it's a want category.
Okay.
So if you give them a bigger overarching theme like entertainment, and then you put your entertainment, your subscriptions, things like that inside those categories, it'll help you out a little bit better. Now, again, we are saying very similarly to the last episode where we talked about emergency funds, is that you've got to write this stuff down. And the reason you've got to is because the world we're living in today, there's a significant amount of things, whether they're needs or wants, that are moving to this subscription model, and they're they can confuse you pretty good. They can get you pretty quickly on where they fall in the category because you didn't realize that you needed a subscription model for your couch. And there's couches out there that offer these subscription models.
Isn't it wild?
So you're like, oh, well, maybe I should give Lazy Boy $10 a month so my couch does that thing.
Now, here's what's crazy. Here's what's crazy in my world personally is that I have lost my wallet approximately 400 times.
Yeah, it's a lot of times though.
And you've commented on this before.
I've not lost my wallet even a tenth of that many times.
Okay. And I sometimes enjoy being able to unsubscribe from everything because it's connected to my card that was in my wallet. So I get a new card, and there goes all my subscriptions. What a break!
Yeah, that's a
what a break.
That's a what do they call that? It's not a hot take. It's giving advice. What do they call that? You know what I'm talking about. Giving advice, unsolicited a little bit.
Pro tip.
Pro tip.
Pro tip. Just lose your wallet.
Yeah.
Then you good.
Yeah.
Because then you can cancel everything.
Yep.
I've done it. Okay, and 20% then must be left for, I'm looking at some notes here, savings and debt repayment is what you got.
Yep.
Okay, here's my question. Savings and debt repayment, underneath that category, I'm looking at emergency fund maybe, investments, extra loan payments.
Yep.
Okay, what I don't see here is taxes. In the 50-30-20 method, where would you put taxes?
Yeah, a lot of times the 50-30-20 method is actually for those people who are W-2 employees.
Okay.
So the taxes are coming out ahead of time.
Gotcha.
So
you know what?
this is
Sometimes
where
I
they're
forget
left
about
with.
what life I got over here because I do have to save or keep money that comes in because it is not pre-taxed. It's going to come in full, and then whoever, Elon at this point, is going to take it. I'm trying to figure out how to get him to remove that part of the government at this point.
I think they're working on it. They said something
Okay,
about
good.
taxing everybody else instead of internally. They're going to tax it externally. I got a pro tip for all the people who are listening out there when it comes to taxes. This is a pro tip, take it or leave it. So a lot of people don't realize the difference between personally paid taxes, W-2 employees and 1099 employees. And the difference between those two things are actually just when the people have to pay the taxes. A lot of people don't realize this. So imagine you're an employee, you make $10,000.
Yep.
They tax you on the $10,000 there before you even get the money in your bank account. And then later on, you then get to... I lost my train of thought. You get taxed on the money, the income, then you get the money, then you spend it all on your expenses.
Right.
Where the business owner, the 1099 person makes $10,000, they get to spend all the expenses first, and then they're taxed on what's left. So it's the same effective tax rate. except one gets taxed before they're allowed to spend the expenses, and the other gets taxed after they are allowed to spend money on their expenses. And that's why a business owner, a 1099 employee, is generally going to pay less taxes than the W-2 employee. It's just about when it happens. Anyway, that's a pro tip for you.
Okay, if you are a 50, 30, 20 type person, your numbers and ratios may be a little bit different than that. We want to know. Give us a comment, subscribe, like, share this with somebody who ain't budgeting at all, and we'll move on to budget plan number 2. Jonah, tell us about the zero-based budget.
Yeah, so the zero-based budget is where every dollar basically is assigned to something. Every dollar has a job. So what you're supposed to do with zero-based budgeting is you're going to take your income. Again, let's pretend it's $10,000 a month. You're going to subtract your expenses, and you're supposed to equal 0 at the end. So you account for everything, even your savings, even your fun, even your taxes if you're 1099, before you get the money in. And then when the money shows up, you just assign it to all the places it was supposed to go, and you're left with 0.
Now, this one works really well for people who do have an irregular income. And so these people might be business owners. And the reason for that, because I've tried this before, is because we don't know how much we're going to be able to spend on X, Y, or Z. Mm-hmm. Our income is irregular. So what we're going to do is we're going to budget down to 0. And if we have nothing left, maybe our income was lower than $10,000 this particular month, we have to leave stuff off. So we start with the most important stuff, and then we trickle down until we're done, and we're out of money.
Those needs at the top of zero-based budgeting. You're going to say, I'm going to make sure I can pay the rent or the mortgage.
Yep.
I'm going to make sure I can keep the lights on. I'm going to make sure I can eat. But then at the very bottom, when you get to that Netflix, the entertainment, the eating out, whatever else it might be, you're going to say, if I've got the money, perfect, and if I don't, I'm just going to leave it off this month.
So, yes, I've done that before. Okay. My question is, as a business owner and entrepreneur yourself, is this what you do? Is this any closer to what you do?
It's not.
It's not.
I do not.
Okay.
No, I didn't like zero-based. So zero-based budgeting was introduced to me around the time that I started paying attention to finances and just being in the finance space. There's a few popular people who have popularized zero-based budgeting, and even the next style of budgeting we're going to talk about, and it never really resonated with me.
Okay.
Didn't like it.
It was tough. I did not stick with it long, but
not my thing.
Okay. So number 3. The third type is the envelope system. Mm-hmm. Now, the envelope system, I think, is similar to zero-based.
It is similar to zero-based. The difference here is that in the envelope system, the people who encourage this or push this, they want you to use physical cash, right?
Normally, yes.
That's the difference. They're going to say there's going to be some psychological messaging behind this, and they're going to say if you use physical cash, then you're less likely to spend money on X, Y, and Z.
You don't go over because you have to physically look at it, count it out. You realize when you're running out, as opposed to utilizing a digital card, which is 99% of money traffic, right? Yep. And that is not it doesn't hurt as much. You don't see it. You don't count it the same way. So I kind of like this, and I have done physical envelopes before. When I was getting out of debt, my first time, 2007-ish, okay? Long time ago, y'all. I've been in the game trying to figure out how to get my money right. Since 2006-07, I did use envelopes for a while, and that was wildly tiring.
I believe it.
Because I didn't have the right denominations half the time. It's like I needed 1,000 ones. Because how am I going to put
these? Because if you put a 50 or 100 in the Netflix envelope, what am I supposed to do with that?
Correct. So I'm talking about 15 plus years ago, and I'm having these questions.
Okay.
Also, I go spend money from a physical envelope.
Yep.
Is it an envelope or envelope?
I think you can say it either way.
Okay. I'm going to go with envelope. I'm going to go envelope. I'm going to change it.
Okay.
I would spend money from a physical envelope, and then where am I supposed to put this change?
In the envelope.
In an envelope?
Yeah, except then the envelope gets heavy
Correct.
and worn out. So how many envelopes?
I have 32 nickels.
Budget?
By the 28th day of the month, I have 32 nickels in 4 quarters. I'm not carrying the envelope.
Oh, yeah.
This is a real thing. You're smiling over here and smirking. Ladies and gentlemen, have you done the envelope? Now, fortunately now, there are digital envelope systems, obviously. We've got apps on our phone. We know every dollar. One of our coaches was using that in his family.
Yep.
And so that is, I'm assuming, going to show us like a flip, scroll, swipe left, swipe right envelope.
I have not
remainder
used it, but
yeah.
But I think the Every Dollar app's popularized by somebody who encourages the envelope system.
Oh, of course.
So I wouldn't.
I would assume that it tells us the dollars and cents, and you flip between envelopes, so you're still able to spend your actual debit card or swipe your debit card. So, who out there is using the envelope system? If you're using the envelope system, I want to talk to you. That's a completely different system. If you say it differently,
the very last one. And where we should spend the majority of our time here is the pay yourself first method. Why don't you walk this through for the people who are listening? What exactly is it? And then we'll dive into what we think about it.
Yes, okay. The pay yourself first method is probably going to be easy for you to think about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's where you decide to keep or put money away for the future. It's going to rain in the future, so go ahead and plan for that umbrella, Ella. So paying yourself first means you're going to save or keep it. Most people would say save or invest. We would break that down and nuance it a little bit because we don't believe saving and investing is the same thing. Most of the time we can convince people of that when we ask them a few questions on a cash consultation about the difference, but they are putting money away before they ever see it. Sometimes before it ever hits their checking account or even savings account because they've invested it somewhere, put it in a third-party type of place that they don't normally swipe. So the dollars that you want to have for the future are out of sight and potentially out of mind for the time being.
That's right.
Pay yourself first. The question, Jonah, would be, before we talk about, I'm happy to keep talking about what we might think about it and how it resonates to the save and spend system, is what might be your rule of thumb on how much to pay yourself first before you get into your needs, wants, and haves?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. And I think if you ask the everyday person, the person walking down the street, the person hanging out in the mall, and you encourage them to, hey, we think you should save money. We think you should save money first, pay yourself first, as opposed to paying all the bills first. And you ask them what percentage of their income, what percentage of their money that they come into, do you think they should save first? I bet you'd get 5, 10s, and 15%. I bet you that's what you'd get. The answer that I have, just with the experience and the track record of helping people talking through our save and spend system, which we'll get to in just a second, tells me that depends. My answer really is it depends on where you're saving the money, how much I want to save there first. And here's what I mean by that. We've had this conversation on more than one episode and more than one video, on more than one phone call, but a lot of times you can ask the everyday person where they're saving their money and they'll give you investment accounts as an answer. And so if that's your definition, first things first, normally a lot of times I'm going to try to help them separate the two. But if that's their definition of saving, if you're listening to this podcast and you're going, yeah, I save money for retirement, but you're actually putting that money in 401ks or IRAs or 403bs, that's not a savings vehicle, that's an investing vehicle. That person's going to have a different answer than the person who's using a high yield savings account, because the person who's saving in an investment vehicle, that's what their thought process is, realizes that they can lose the money, and so it's probably a nominal percentage. It's probably 5 or 10.
See, I was thinking a lot of people, I think a lot of people, maybe this was because back in my day, when me and my boys got out of school and nobody was married yet, maybe a couple guys,
okay,
the savings but in an investment vehicle was actually very high, because I think a lot of us assumed we'd need more money in the future with a family coming. Like, maybe people are dating or they're like, I'm going to get engaged next year, so like I need to save more. So I had a buddy who worked downtown. You know him well, and he worked at an ad agency when I worked downtown. And he was putting something like, I think it was 20% of his take home was going in his 401k.
Okay.
And that's way high. There's no way the average family is doing that.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. To that individual,
Yeah.
if we said was he calling it savings or was he calling it investing?
He would have called it retirement.
Yep.
He would have called it retirement. 401k, we're 22 years old, so it's not like he was planning to take it out or we understood that we're going to do rentals or something like that in a year or two, because that's not where we were. So my thought process, help us solve this debate. What do you guys think out there who are listening? Like, do you assume Jonah's point of view? Or maybe you were thinking my point of view, that someone who is going to invest first as a pay yourself first account is going to be a high amount of money or nominal?
Yeah. So that's really my answer for all those who are interested in asking. It depends on your definition of where that savings vehicle is and what that savings vehicle is. That's really, I think, the meat of my answer, right? So we've talked about this before. A lot of people assume these investment accounts are savings vehicles, and they are not. They do not share the same attributes. If you write down on paper what is true, what is locked in, what is guaranteed about your savings account, and what is true, what is locked in, what is guaranteed about your investment account, you will realize that they do not share very many of the same attributes at all.
Right.
Therefore, saving is not investing, and investing is not saving. Once you get past that and someone's determining exactly how much now they want to save, what you'll actually find on any website that you go to, on any book that you read, is that the average American family does not save nearly as much money as they should be saving.
Not even close.
Not even close.
They do not keep. And I like to use that word sometimes too. They do not keep as much money as they should. Save is a good word, but it might be overused. You might think of it differently than me because of investing, saving. What does that mean? Does savings count? Here's a question for you, Jonah. Does savings count if I need the money within 12 months?
See.
Would you?
Maybe.
I mean, but would you personally?
I know I need it.
You know you need it. No, you need it.
I need it.
No, you need it within 12 months, but you don't need it today.
No, that doesn't count as saving. That counts as putting it away so I can use it for that thing.
Okay, 3 years. I know it will be spent, but 3 years. Is that saving?
I think that I might qualify that as saving, depending on what I'm spending it on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I think. So I like to put the word put sometimes, put money in a place, keep money in a place, save money in a place, so we can kind of like use a different word to have a different psychological, action fire in our brain. So we go like, is saving something you need this summer? I would go, no, that's not savings.
Right.
Yeah.
That's putting it aside. That's
right. That's why we have to have a conversation with people and to help them. All right, Jonah, let me remind everybody that the Save and Spend system is anchored on a financial product where if you decide to use it and you save dollars in that financial product, there are guarantees. That is one of the tenets of what savings should be all about. Guaranteed. Number one, your dollars cannot go down or backward. It is not an investment you cannot lose. Number two, because this product at this point, can I get a big fanfare? Like, let's reveal the product.
No, you cannot. You can get a boxing. What about that?
Let's go. Okay. Round one, save money inside a vehicle that is guaranteed to grow and cash flow. That preferred method around here is going to be whole life insurance. That might blow your mind. But whole life insurance is guaranteed to grow, give us a death benefit for our family in the future, and cash flow through the equity. Cash value is the name of equity, the net now on a future payout, because whole life insurance has to pay. The reason we're going to do that is because of the guarantees, the growth, and the liquidity, because Jonah needs to use this money within 6 months.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Jonah, I have got a challenge for you. Got a couple of questions here.
I'm ready.
Okay, we're going to play a game, sir, and I want to know either or. Would you rather this or that? Okay, the categories are named budget or fudge it.
I'm ready.
Budget or fudge it. Here it is, a luxury hotel upgrade. You're on vacation, you and the missus. Your budget covers a nice but basic hotel room.
Okay.
However, the front desk offers you a one-time only ocean view penthouse suite upgrade for $250 more per night. Just you and the missus. Just you and the missus.
Night.
You and the missus.
How long are we there? A week?
Okay, I don't know.
This is $1,000.
I'm gonna give you 3 nights.
Okay.
3 nights. It's a long weekend here. Do you budget and stick with your original plan, or do you fudge it and live like kings and queens for the weekend?
What would I do? This is just would you rather for me? I'm probably fudging that.
Okay, you're gonna fudge it.
We've got kids at the house, and if we're on a weekend by ourselves, then I'm probably I'm changing my answer. I'm going to budget and stay. I'm not going to upgrade to the room because I'm going to spend this. That's $750. I'm going to spend that on something else at the resort. We're going to go to the luxury restaurant instead.
Well,
I don't need the room. I don't need the room.
Okay. I feel like that's still fudge it because we're still spending the money.
That's fine.
In the same place.
That was my original answer.
You just added amenities.
That was my original answer.
Just added amenities that were not in the scenario. Mm-hmm. All right, number 2. A friend comes to you with a guaranteed, quote unquote, way to double your money in 6 months. Crypto, real estate, some J's, or some hot new asset. You have your investment funds carefully allocated already, but FOMO is real. This is a very convincing friend.
Okay.
Do you budget and stick to your planned investments, or do you fudge it and throw the extra cash at the guaranteed double your money?
For me personally, this is an easy answer. This is the budget. We're going to stick with what we know. We're not going to go do the other thing because I have a feeling that the price might be wrong.
I don't think it will be if it was actually the right idea for you, because I know your friends, and we're going to protect the wealthy and not name them. And if they came to you with J's, I think you'd be in.
Not if I had a budget. Not if I had to go over my budget to get in. I wouldn't.
Okay.
No.
Number 3, your phone's working just fine, Jonah.
Yes, it is.
But the latest model just dropped. Tim Cook came out with it, and it's got features.
Yep.
Features. You want these.
Mm-hmm.
Trade-in deals make it almost justifiable, but it's still a chunk of change to get the next iPhone 38.
Mm-hmm.
Do you budget, keep rocking with your current model, or do you fudge it and flex the latest tech?
Steve, I'm going to fudge this one.
You are.
Go get the new phone.
I knew you would.
Yeah, I'm going to go get the new phone.
You know what I would do for this?
If you probably wouldn't.
I would not.
Yeah, I'd probably go get the new phone.
I budget.
I'd probably
don't care about phones like that.
Got to do it.
What would you do, ladies and gentlemen? 2 more for Jonah. Your favorite artist of all time. Who's your favorite artist of all time? Think like a music artist or something.
I literally probably don't have one, but I like Queen.
That's why Queen.
I like Queen.
Queen comes back from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He comes back from the dead.
My man Freddie.
All right. He's going to do a farewell tour.
Uh-huh.
Because we know he's got to go back.
Yep.
From whence he came. You plan to budget for nosebleeds, but suddenly they
send the email out
that Freddie's back.
Yep.
He's been hiding out in the basement in Buckingham Palace with the Queen. He's coming out, VIP, front row seats, backstage. Meet Freddie himself.
Backstage is crazy.
Oh, yado. I don't know. You know he's a Live Aid, right?
Yeah. I remember
that one. Okay, all right. Do you budget? Keep it frugal. Sit in the top of Wembley, or Barclay? Where is it supposed to be?
Wembley. It's probably
Wembley.
London.
Okay, or you fudge it. I mean, this is Freddie. I'm going front row.
It's got to be a budget because the price of the concert tickets, I know what they are. It's astronomical.
If Freddie comes back, right?
Taylor Swift just got done with her Eras tour, the largest grossing tour of all time, billions of dollars. No, I know what the prices are.
But you get
concerts.
to meet.
Can't do it. Cannot
backstage.
Do it. Yeah, but
meet
he's
and
not gonna
greet.
Remember me.
You're going to have the picture every time he shows up. Every time he shows up in the news for the rest of your life, you can repost.
It's going to be a budget, folks.
All right. One more. You're shopping for one item. One item.
This is fudge it already because if you go into any store, you can't leave with just one item. How many stores you been in?
We're not even going to finish this one. Ladies and gentlemen, one item. We're going in the store. Are you going to budget or fudge it? No. Decide right now.
No.
Okay, here's the rest of it.
Got to get a little snack.
All right, but there's a limited time doorbuster flash sale for something you did not plan on buying, but you need because the discount.
Yeah.
The discount, people.
That.
That's a fudge. No, we didn't even say what it was. Okay, we'd love to know how you handle your budgeting in your family. Maybe you're single and it's kind of like I can save a whole bunch of money and I can even invest. Or maybe, look, things are really tight right now. We've made mistakes in the past, and these kids just ask for so much. They grow out of everything, and they want snacks every time we go in Target. We'd love to know. Remember, if you need a cash consultation coach to walk and talk you through how your budget can be put in the right place in the first place, if you like to pay yourself first, we'd love to talk very soon.
Before we go, let's give a quick shout out to our fan follow of the week. And this week, that fan follow goes by the name KN over on YouTube. I think maybe Kareem Nash is actually his name because of his handle over there. But KN is the abbreviation there he likes to go by. But he's recently subscribed to our channel, and we appreciate that so much. If you have not heard it here, then you have not heard it anywhere. But once you subscribe, you've got to hit the notification bell and make sure that you are notified anytime we post new videos. Over on YouTube, we post 2 or 3 brand new videos every single week. And as of today's recording, you can go watch us talk about infinite banking versus some of the other very popular things like the stock market. And coming out very soon is a video all about what actually happens when the stock market goes down, when the S&P 500 drops. And so if you were like me and kind of knew that was a thing, but I don't know what actually happens when that happens, then maybe you should go watch our YouTube video because we explain it in full detail. So thank you, Kareen, for subscribing to our channel, and hopefully you're getting some content, some new information, and reach out to us if you have any questions.
Now, some takeaways. No matter what type of budget system you don't use yet, we suggest that if you're going to get into the game, no matter which of the 4 might fit your family's needs best, you give it a trial run.
Yep.
When I first did my budgeting as a single person, I actually needed to spend a lot of time in the first 90 days adjusting, trying to get things right, and realizing how much Burger King I actually had when it came to those dang croissant witches. So give yourself 30 days, say you're going to go with it, and then adjust at that point. Know you're going to get it wrong. It's totally fine. So if you found this episode helpful, do us a favor, share it with a friend, let somebody know, or click the like button. Subscribe to our channel where we're going to walk and talk you through code cracking cash flow for your money on the next episode.
Gave a lot of game, we never got a lot of things. Bow your head and say the prayer. We taught you how to be the bank.
If you enjoyed this episode, you're going to love to listen to it in conjunction with the last one. The Banking Bros podcast features all sorts of conversation about code cracking cash flow, and this particular episode, Budget or Fudge It, comes right on the heels of an emergency fund. Those two things really go together, so we want to encourage you to actually binge, listen, or watch the Banking Bros podcast, because at the Cash Compound, we're going to help you with control of your cash flow. That's our whole culture.